Hello again, everyone. I'm Mark Walmsley. I'm the founder of the Arts and Culture Network, or Connector in Chief, as some people have referred to me. Um, we're a growing global community of over 185,000 now across our 8 arts and culture LinkedIn groups. Wherever this appears, I'll pop links to those groups. With that kind of community, I don't get to meet everyone, as you can imagine, but when I do, it's a pleasure. And Bill Irvine has joined me today. Bill is one of our new full members. We're fully member funded as a community without any advertisers or sponsors, so that's very much appreciated. And we're going to have some fun today. I'm going to create Bill's fantasy cultural year from the answers to some easy questions to which there are no wrong answers. So there we go. So, Bill, thank you so much for joining me to do this today, and thank you very much for joining us as a full member.
Well, thank you, and hello, everyone. I really appreciate what you're doing, Mark, and it's valuable and much needed out there in the wide world.
That's kind of you. Yes, I was just suggesting, wasn't I, that the success stories make it all worthwhile. I hear about things happening that wouldn't do if we hadn't started this community. So it's pleasing when I get that kind of feedback. Thank you. Now we're going to do a little tour of your work, which I'm looking forward to, and then we're going to create your fantasy cultural year. So before we do that, perhaps you'd tell us a little bit more about your work. And as you're doing that, I'll pull up the website so we can have a look at the work.
Yeah, okay. Well, it started long ago in the 90s when I became interested in becoming a children's book author and illustrator. Was very inspired by some of the work of David Weisner, Marie Sundak, and especially Chris Van Allsburg, as the art in their books were great pieces of art that told stories visually, and I aspired to be at that level. I was published by a publisher who was not successful, so the books are no longer available. But then a career in marketing sort of took over my life and advertising, and I stepped away merely because time required full attention to that career. But recently, about 2 years ago, that came to a close, and now I'm full on back into children's books, especially two primary focuses. I like to say I approach every illustration in a children's book as if this is the one that's going to inspire some child to dream big and want to get interested in art and start drawing on their own. And then also, really, my stories focus on encouraging and fostering just wild flights of fancy, imagination, and just uh, hoping the kids see the value in dreaming big dreams and the ability to have an imagination. That's our muscle memory for critical thinking,
Yeah,
and that's how I approach it.
sounds great. Well, let's dive in, shall we, and have a look at some of the work on your website. So I'm going to share my screen so you can give us the narrative behind this. So if anyone watching would like to explore this in more detail, it's at studio-w.art. And this is Bill's website. So Bill, where shall we go and have a look? The children's books you mentioned, so it might be nice to start here. Shall I click?
Some of the other work. I also did a lot of detailed pen and ink work, and that's what that shows over there. But the most recent stuff is definitely the children's books link.
Okay, this is wonderful. The pet picture is fantastic. Oh, and thank you very much for popping our logo on your website. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Um, Here we go. So tell us a little bit about the thinking behind some of the images here and what they were for.
Well, that hero image at the top is from a book I have out now where I'm seeking to get representation from literary agents. It's the title is A Bewildering Bottle. The story follows a boy and his dog who discover after a terrible storm a really weird looking bottle on the beach, and that's the actual bottle strapped to his dog Fred's back. Um, and it's a cinematic journey into the boy's imagination as he dreams up all the things that the bottle could be. You know, it starts out with the mundane. Maybe there's a message for help inside. Maybe there's a magic genie. Maybe it fell off a spaceship that crashed during the storm. And here in this scene, he's wondering if maybe it's actually not a bottle at all, but a small rocket engine. And if he finds another one, he and Fred could fly in the clouds and have all kinds of fun.
Fantastic. It's like the snowman and Aladdin coming together. I love it.
Yes, thank you.
Fantastic. And there are some other ones here as well.
Yeah, the two at the top there, that's another scene from the same book, the one on the left, where he imagines that possibly the contents of the bottle might help him talk to animals. And he knows that that donkey on his uncle's farm must have a lot of funny stories to tell.
Brilliant. You've just added Doolittle to the whole thing.
Yeah, there you go.
Great.
Yeah, funny.
You
And
got
on the
three.
right, oh, go ahead.
No, no, I'm just saying you've got these three lovely elements coming together of much loved story telling, and it's great. That I love the kind of
I
hybrid
do.
sweet spot of it.
Thank you. Yeah, I do try to get some twists in there. To the right, it's another story with Ethan and Fred, where it's a takeoff on one of the things he imagines, where he is asked by a friendly troll that he discovers under a bridge to rescue their source of magic from the evil ogres. And in this scene, after he enters a magic land and finds the entrance to the ogre lair, well, of course they're afraid of dogs, so Fred is chasing them away so he can go in and find the source of the troll's magic.
Brilliant. So you're bringing Lord of the Rings and Narnia into this as well.
There's a few other things going on in there. There's several tributes in the artwork in that
Yeah,
one. These
brilliant.
two are from a current project about a young llama girl. This is a commission project who's coming to terms with wearing glasses. And this one features, again, full spread illustrations, but with room to the right and left for the story. On the left there, her grandmother is telling her how great her glasses, her new pink glasses make her feel and how she can see things others can't. And on the right, she's trying to encourage a friend who's being ridiculed for some of the odd clothes that she wears.
Oh, it's lovely. I can feel the stories leaping out of the screen. It's great.
Thank you. On
Well,
the left here,
anyone,
these, no, no, go ahead.
well, yes, they're all here. So if you'd like to have a look, oh wow, look at that. These are all wonderful. So if you'd like to take a closer look, it's at studio-w.art to find all these. And these are great. Thank you so much for that little mini tour, Bill. That's
Thank you.
great.
Thank you for
Excellent.
highlighting it.
No, no, it's my pleasure. So we're going to have some fun now.
All right. I
Um,
like fun.
Yep, you've inspired me with that, which is great. Let me just give that some thought. Right, okay. Okay. What were the characters' names again?
In the main character is Fred is the dog, and actually Fred is the name of a dog, our first dog,
Mm,
and that is Fred in the pictures. And Ethan is just popped in there as the name for the boy that kind of matched Fred and Ethan, and it is the Fred and Ethan Adventure series.
Fred and Ethan. Okay. Right. That's given me some inspiration for your fantasy cultural year.
Awesome.
Um, so I'd like to place you somewhere in the world for this. And to do that, I'm going to ask you, what's your favorite building?
My favorite building, I would have to say, um, yeah, I'm near Buffalo, New York, in the rural area between Buffalo and Rochester, and there's a lot of great architecture in Buffalo, and one of them is, as an artist, I enjoy the fascia on the Prudential Building in downtown Buffalo. It's an old sandstone building where everything was hand carved. It was built, I want to say, late 1800s, early 1900s.
Yeah,
And it's just a gorgeous building when you see it close up, and it's
here it
recently been
is.
restored.
Here it is.
There it is. Look at you.
Wow, look at that. That's magnificent. Okay, so I'd like you to imagine, let's use this one as the basis. I'd like you to imagine that there's a little pop-up cafe here, okay, in Buffalo. and you're sitting at the cafe table, admiring close up the Prudential building. And it's 6 p.m. on a June evening. It's warm and sunny, and there's a drink on the table next to you. What drink would we find there?
You would find a slightly dirty Beefeater martini.
Slightly dirty. I like a dirty mojito, which is done with black rum. I love
There
it.
you go.
There, a slight right. So we've got the what was it? The
A Beefeater, a slightly dirty Beefeater martini.
I love
Don't
it.
be afraid of the vermouth. There's people saying, "Oh, dry martinis." The right amount of vermouth is essential in a great martini.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. Um, and there's a book next to the drink. It could be your favorite book. It could be a book that's influenced you or been with you all your life. What, or it could be a recent discovery. What would it be?
It's one that's been with me several times in my life. It's Rendezvous with Rama by Arthur C. Clarke.
Brilliant.
The world that he paints in that book is just astounding. I read it long ago, and um, back then I got in the habit of just sketching and drawing some of the worlds that the authors were painting with their words, and
Mm,
that's the one that I went to quite often.
fantastic choice. And then there's music playing in your headphones. What are you listening to?
The Bach Brandenburg concertos.
Oh, now you see, I love doing this because nobody else has nobody. I mean, there are only four categories there: the building, the drink, the book, and the music. But everybody's different, obviously, which is great. But we've summed you up in one lovely four
Well,
element.
it would be a tough choice between that and Pink Floyd, but I
Oh,
have to go with Bach.
yeah, excellent. Now you're feeling quite pleased with yourself because you've just come from a meeting in the Prudential building. Is our Prudential still there?
Oh no, that's just the name of the building.
Right. They presumably uh, the company used to be there, I imagine. But
Correct. That was built back at a time when Buffalo was full of millionaires and company headquarters.
right.
It's not so much like that anymore in downtown
Ah,
Buffalo.
but there is one very wealthy family foundation with an office at the top of the Prudential building. Okay. It's a Buffalo-based family foundation who love to support projects in the arts and especially as it relates to children. And you've just come away from a meeting with this fictitious family foundation, I should add. And they would like to hire you for a year, okay, at great expense, first class,
Ooh, I like
first
that.
first class all the way, to travel the world and write stories that place Fred and Ethan in um, different societies around the world, okay, to foster a sense of understanding and cross-cultural pollination and facilitation. Because one of their efforts is if we can just allow people to realize we're all different, everything else will be easier. Okay. It'll be produced in a series of books and as a box set. And they'd like you to travel the world to do the research and meet the people who will and hear the stories that will be in the book. And then you get to illustrate them, of course. A TV crew will follow you because they'd like to make a TV series about your fantasy cultural year. There's a book deal in it, of course, because the books will be published individually and as a box set. Um, Sort of Fred and Ethan travel the world kind of thing. And there's a TED talk when you get back because
Wow.
you need to tell everybody about your experiences and what you learned on this journey about how children interact and enjoy stories. There is there's also a global university lecture tour lined up for you when you get back to do a presentation and a talk at different universities around the world. And you become the go-to commentator on literature for children. You're on the sofa on morning television quite frequently. You're the first person people call in a radio show when they're discussing um, children's literature. Does that sound like fun? Friends and family can come and visit you during the year. Does that sound like fun?
Sounds like a blast. Don't you need to trim my beard, I think, to look a little more to be appropriate for a TED Talk, and so the microphone can come
Ah,
closer to
yes.
the. But
So all you need to do is to decide where you're going to start. You can start in any city in any country in the world. Where would you like to go first?
oh, that's easy. Scotland. Uh,
Scotland.
my family has my family name has a deep history in Scotland, and my brother has been there, and attributes of one of the story picks up on the legends that the Vikings brought to northern Scotland. I want to say Vikings, but the Danish and Vikings,
Yeah,
and the a lot of the assumptions of that that's in modern cinema, modern media, and everything is very different from what actually happened.
right.
And telling the stories, especially from a children's perspective of how that happened, the hardships and the victories of that path, and how the Scottish culture at that time and till today has been shaped by that very rich heritage of the Vikings, who weren't always the nasty pillagers that they're often depicted as.
Yeah,
They were very inventive, and that inventive mindset is still steeped in the Scottish culture with, the first university in Edinburgh.
yeah. Right. Well, then let's go to Edinburgh. It makes sense for the first story in your box set of 10 to be based around your heritage, which is fantastic. So you're on the plane, okay? The steward, you turned left on the plane, by the way, because you're traveling first class. The steward
Right.
brings you a dirty martini, and a note from the Family Foundation. They've got a little challenge for you while you're doing this. It's a musical challenge. They'd like you to limit your musical listening to one very specific type or genre of music for 12 months, to the exclusion of all else. In those horrifying circumstances, what would you choose?
I gotta go with the blues.
Excellent. Okay, that's a great choice. That's quite wide. That'll give you some things to listen to.
Exactly. And very, very art-driven genre.
Yeah. I wasn't expecting the head of Chinese art at Sotheby's to choose hip hop.
Oh, really?
She said, I hate it, but I hate it. I don't understand it, but after a year I might do.
That's a great point of view.
Yeah,
That's a very good answer.
I was impressed with that. Um, Now we arrive in Edinburgh, and a group of young literary students and writers take you under their wing. They whisk you into the center of the city with a beautiful view of Edinburgh Castle up the hill there. And they say, right, settle in, unpack, make yourself at home. We're coming back to take you to a dance performance followed by dinner. Okay. Now, this is where the magic wand and the time machine comes in, because
Okay.
I can put any dance performance on that stage in front of you, any dancers, living or not, any style, any group. In those circumstances, what would you like me to put on the stage in front of you? You don't have to remain in Scottish culture, and we have a magic wand and a time machine.
I don't remember the name of the troupe. And I've seen some nice ballet, but what really impressed me the most, and I never had the opportunity to see it, was a troupe I saw when we were living in Phoenix. It was the huge Japanese drums and the dancers.
Okay,
And
I think
the
that's the
name of
code.
that escape was, say that again?
I think it's the Kodo drummers.
Yes,
Yeah,
but they had it was not just the drumming performance. There was also a dance troupe married up with them,
yeah,
performing with them. I thought that was fantastic, and I wanted to find a way to see more of it,
yeah.
and I just have not since then. So I'm picking that.
Okay, here they are. I've seen them live in London. So these are the drummers, but there
It's
aren't much.
very yes, that's essentially it.
So there we go. Look,
Yes.
fantastic. What a choice. That's a great choice. What about dinner? You get to choose the national cuisine, and Edinburgh has restaurants from all around the world. What would your preferred national cuisine be?
It's going to have to be seafood,
Yep.
and I am akin to whitefish, especially a nicely prepared haddock.
Mm,
So yeah, I love steak. I love waterfowl, duck, but it's got to be seafood.
yeah. So a really good monkfish dish, perhaps.
Ah, there you go.
There we go. Excellent. Now we're going to buzz again to another city. Where are we going? Anywhere in the world.
That's an interesting question. I haven't thought about that ever. I want to pick a small, quaint, quiet village in Italy. I don't have
Okay.
a name,
Let's go
but
to Siena near Florence.
okay,
Uh,
yeah. All right.
I'm going to Florence next week. That's why it's top of mind. But
Okay.
Siena is a less touristy town, smaller town, not far from Florence. Now it's sport day in Italy when we arrive. Okay. Now with breakdancing in the Olympics, ice dancing, figure skating, dressage, you could some sports are clearly performance art. Okay. So we're kind of allowing sport into this fantasy cultural year. Are you a sports fan, Bill?
I once was, I sort of fell out, but yeah, I'm definitely, if there was a sport that I appreciate, I would want to say rugby and or Australian football.
Okay, fantastic. Rugby, I don't understand Australian football. Rugby, I'm a big fan of rugby. So
Yeah.
that would be that's a great one. They say that soccer or football is a gentleman's game played by hooligans, and rugby is a hooligan's game played by gentlemen.
Like hockey, it's a hooligan's game on ice.
Yeah, but they're all drinking together in the bar afterwards.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
love it. Excellent. That's a great choice. Now let's buzz again from where did we get to? I've lost it. We were in Italy. Yes. Where are we going from Siena in Italy? You can go anywhere you like.
Anywhere I like. Wow, you're catching me off guard with uh Switzerland.
Switzerland. Okay. We could go to a number of places. I know Grindelwald and Meiringen, which are beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. Again, I'm picking places visually where
Hmm.
on my off time I'd want to sit and sketch and paint.
Yeah, well, if we go to Grindelwald, you've got a view of the Eiger on a clear
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
So Grindelwald it is. Excellent.
The
Now
Eiger.
in
One of my
Grindelwald,
favorite, by the way, one of my favorite movies, The Eiger Sanction with Clint Eastwood.
there we go. That comes later.
Okay.
We're getting there. Um, so you're in Grindelwald, and in Grindelwald in Switzerland, there is a new fictitious, digitally enhanced art gallery. You can you can wear a virtual reality headset and you can step into the work of a famous artist. It becomes three-dimensional. It's 360 degrees. You can walk around in it. It's animated and there is sound. You can see in 3 dimensions what the artist could only show us in two. So if you could do that, and I don't think it is possible yet because I keep looking, these projections are great, these immersive projections, but actually you need to be standing in the picture. You effectively become one of the characters in the picture, the painting. Whose work would you like to step into?
Easy. Van Gogh
Van
or
Gogh.
Van Gogh, depending how you want to pronounce.
Great choice. Yeah. Can you imagine walking along that street scene and the starry sky? And
Yes.
yeah, that's a great choice. Now, I'm going to whisk you back to London, and you and I are going out every night of the week to do something cultural. Okay. Between us, we can decide what we do. On Monday, we're going to go back in time to a rock or pop concert. On Tuesday, we're going to a theatre play, and we do have the Globe. On Wednesday, we're going to a West End or Broadway musical premiere, back in time. On Thursday, we're going to either the opera or the ballet. And on Friday, we're going to the movies. And between us, we can decide what we do. So my question for you is there a concert you attended that you would love to use the time machine for and go back in time and experience it again?
Can it be a concert that I missed?
Yes, even better.
It would be the group Chicago live at Carnegie Hall.
Wow. Are you familiar with, that's a great choice. Love it. Are you familiar with the Russian band Leonid and Friends?
Oh, yes. Yes, I am.
Ah, I'm a big fan. I'm connected with
Yeah.
many of them on Facebook.
Oh,
Almost
that's
become
great.
friends. I think they're touring the States at the moment, or they have done. I've not seen them live, but their Chicago covers are wonderful.
They're spot on. That's right. Yeah, I've seen
Yeah,
it. It's uncanny. Yeah.
yeah. Have you seen them live?
No, I have not.
No, that would be great fun.
Yeah.
Um, Excellent, great choice. Chicago live at Carnegie Hall, fantastic. Now, what about a play? We're in London and we've got Shakespeare's Globe, so it could be Shakespeare, but is there a play you'd really love to watch?
I'd really like to see um, a great performance by all the greats with your time machine
Yes,
of Macbeth.
with all the best actors in it,
Yeah,
all
that's
the
right.
Shakespearean specialists in it.
Yes.
Yes, the Scottish play, quite appropriately. There we go.
Or you can't say Mackers.
Yeah, you don't say it. Great choice. What about a West End or a Broadway musical? We can go back to the premiere or the
I'm not
opening.
that familiar with musicals, so I'm not a good person to ask about that.
Well, I could recommend one because I'd love to be
There you
there
go.
at the opening night of Bernstein's West Side Story.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah,
all right. Yeah, I'll take that recommendation.
that would be good fun. I was very fortunate. He conducted me when I was at college in London.
Wow.
So yeah, he came to London to conduct one of his pieces. And it was wonderful. I was playing Timps. It was great. Um, okay, are you an opera or a ballet fan, Bill?
Not really.
I get to
Um,
choose again.
you
Fantastic.
do.
If you haven't attended many operas, and I haven't, but I think the one that is a wonderful introduction to opera is Tosca, um,
Yeah, yeah,
by Puccini.
yeah.
Some
Oh,
belting arias, great tragedy,
I I know
wonderful,
it, and that's yeah. I completely agree. I'll go with that again. Great
wonderful.
recommendation. We'd get along.
Yeah. Um, Friday is movie night. We've got the best seats in the house. We've got a big wide screen. We've got wonderful sound. What movie are we watching?
The Big Lebowski.
Okay. Great. Brilliant. I love it. Got it. Now we're nearly there, and I'm going to let you do this wonderful year and then enjoy all of the trappings that come with it. But before I do, I want to send you on your way having had a hero lunch for inspiration. And the hero lunch is in London. And it'll be, what was your national cuisine? It was seafood, wasn't it? Yeah, I think.
Yes,
Yes. So we've found a wonderful modern fusion seafood restaurant in London. You can invite one person to join you for lunch for 2 hours, leisurely. It can be anyone. It can be somebody historical. It can somebody living or not, famous or otherwise. Who would you like to have a leisurely 2 hour lunch with if you could invite anyone?
H.G. Wells.
Wow, there's my time machine. There we
Well,
go.
hey, yeah, look at that. Yeah,
I bought one. I asked it was my birthday last month, and my wife said, "What do you want?" I said, "I want a scale model of H.G. Wells' time machine." And she couldn't find one. So she's bought something that you make out of paper, which is not going to be quite the same. I want a proper steampunk Victorian lump
yeah,
of lump. I want it to work. I want to be able to
yeah.
spin it
There you go.
round.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It was going to
Um,
be him, Tolkien, or C.S. Lewis, but I got to go with H.G. Wells.
okay. And a slight twist to this question, who do you think H.G. Wells would invite?
Oh, wow. Who would he invite? He would invite Plato.
Hmm, that's some lunch. That is some lunch.
Yes.
Wonderful. There we go, Bill. That's your fantasy cultural year done.
It's
You've,
quite a
as,
year.
yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it.
Yeah,
It's just an unusual approach to interviews that I love doing because it brings out anecdotes and surprises, and that's wonderful. So thank you so much for being such a good sport. The wherever this appears, there'll be a profile about you with links to your work, which will be lovely. And
great.
I really do very much appreciate you joining us as a full member and doing this because that's how we roll. Um,
Uh,
have you enjoyed it?
yes, very much. And thank you. I appreciate everything the Arts and Culture Network is doing. I'm fully invested in helping children become interested and lifelong art appreciators. So this is definitely, it's been a lot of fun and very happy to be involved.
Thank you so much, Bill.